we just met with the Senate committee and reviewed the situation with regards to South Africa. And we looked at all the possible options. We analyzed the causes and agreed on a roadmap going forward. And part of that roadmap is that we have sent, at least from the executive side, Mr. President has dispatched a special envoy to South Africa who will be holding discussions with the South African government at the very highest level. Yeah? And he should be back tomorrow. And that will now give the government the basis on which to take further action. In the meantime, the government is very much on top of the situation, following the situation. We know for a fact that no Nigerian life has been lost, so we're extremely concerned now to ensure that there will be adequate compensation for the property that has been lost and damaged. And we know that a private Nigerian airline is putting a plane at the disposal of those Nigerians that wish to take the opportunity to leave South Africa, but it's totally voluntary. But we are particularly determined that this crisis should not recur. It's been happening for far too long. It's become, almost endemic. And so with the distinguished senators, we were looking at some of the options that we have to ensure that this will be the last time that we will ever be meeting to be talking about Nigerians attacked in South Africa and to take definitive measures. But we want to do that and start doing that once we have all the facts available, and then we will take the necessary measures.
What becomes of the fate of Nigerians? Now, because you did say that it is voluntary for those who want to return through the aircraft that is voluntary. Now, what becomes the fate of Nigerians who decide to sit back when diplomatic tie with South Africa has been called off?
No, we're not reaching to the stage of diplomatic ties called off. There are various options. We're not by any means at the stage where we're breaking diplomatic relations with South Africa. But as I said, we will wait for the envoy to come back. There are different actions that can be taken at the diplomatic level without necessarily breaking off diplomatic ties. But we want our decision and Mr. President's decision to be an informed decision based after assessing all the facts, and of course the way the South African government itself reacts and what they say will also be very important in helping us to decide what we need to do.
So how did you arrive at the conclusion that no Nigerian life has been lost when we have an envoy going there to fact check?
No, the envoy is not going there to fact check because we have people on the ground. We have a High Commission there and we have a Consul General there who are engaging with the Nigerian Union in South Africa. So the facts are coming from them on the ground.
Now, will it be that this report that there's no record of Nigerian dying, could it be that it may be for those who are not documented? That those who have died may have just been those not documented, or you're dealing with the fully documented Nigerians in South Africa?
No, we have a Nigerian Union in South Africa, and they are in touch with pretty much, the Nigerians who are there in South Africa. And all the facts available indicate that no Nigerian life was lost.
You mentioned that there's compensation for victims. Who will be covering, Nigeria or South Africa?
No, I didn't say that there's compensation for the victims. What I said is that the Nigerian government will be demanding that the victims be compensated. Now, this is a very important issue because the South African government has been reported to say that they that nothing provides for them legally to provide compensation to these people. That they would have to resort to either the insurance companies or that kind of private arrangement. But we as a government are going to we're going to challenge that. We believe that because in the past no compensation was paid to these people. So for us, it's something that we feel we have to insist upon.
Do you have information if people are volunteering to return, sir?
Sorry?
Do you have any information as people are volunteering?
We understand that there are people who are interested in returning. Yes.
You say the definitive action will be taken. What are the likely definitive actions?
Yeah, it would not be appropriate to put into the public domain appropriate actions that we have to take, because those are options only, and those options will be contingent and dependent on other things happening. And so, we cannot now say that we will take these things in hypothetical cases. We don't want to be dealing with hypothetical cases. We want to be dealing with facts and as they develop.
Committee chairman, sir, for the parliament, what are
Hold on. As a committee on diaspora, civil society and non-government organization, we actually called this meeting with the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and his team to brief the committee on behalf of the Nigerian Senate as to the incidents in South Africa and what has been transpiring and what are the steps being taken. And we're happy that in the light of the cooperative mode of governance under the 9th Senate, under the leadership of our President, Senator Hamad Lawal, the Honorable Minister came here today with the team. We were briefed as to the background as to the xenophobic attacks in the past, the action that have been taken in the past, and what are the possible solutions to those xenophobic attacks. And of course, they were also given an assessment of what has transpired in the recent attack. And one of the highlights was an assessment of the extent of damage to life and property, and were assured that based on credible information from South Africa, that the mission there, no Nigerian life was lost, although there were damages to property, and that there is already an ongoing effort to assess the extent of the damage to those property with a view to making a clear demand on the South African government to give compensation for those whose property had been damaged. And the basis of that is that as a matter of duty under international law, the state has a responsibility to ensure the life and security of people under its domain, whether they are foreigners or citizens, and that is the demand that we have been assured the Nigerian government is going to make in this regard. More fundamentally is that the strategy that we have been briefed being adopted by the Nigerian government through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is that we must have a permanent and final solution to the xenophobic attacks. It should not be an endemic issue, things that come within a space of 24 months in between. So the options that are being considered is such that will be weighty enough to ensure that both, particularly the government of South Africa, is alive to its responsibility as to rule of law. But fundamental in resolving this matter is for us to appeal to Nigerians not to take law into their hands. As had been stated in the earlier statement by the Committee on Diaspora of the Senate, we need to exercise restraint, and Nigeria is a leader in Africa. And as a country, we must also show that we are responsible. Two wrongs can never make a right. So we appeal to Nigerians to remain calm. So far from the briefing that we have been given, we believe that the Nigerian government, the executive level, are doing pretty much to ensure that the sovereignty of our people is elevated, that we will find a lasting solution to the problem. And in terms of evacuation, we join the efforts of the private airline. The government assessing the situation will also be ready to support any such effort, while ensuring that whatever steps we take, we must look at the advantages and disadvantages and how it will promote the interest of Nigeria. Because as we have today, from reliable information, we have no less than 800,000 Nigerians living in South Africa. So if we want to take a decision in that regard, some of them are in businesses, some of them are professionals, some of them have they have been tied to South African society. So when you are taking a decision, we have to take decision that will promote the interests of all Nigerians that are in that country. So we believe that by the time the envoy will return, and the president will meet with the other members of the executive, and a clear decision has been taken. But we are sure that all options are on the table in ensuring that we have a final solution to the problem of xenophobic attack in South Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.